after a week like this, where you guys have two back-to-back really big wins, as far as even though you've said that they're bigger wins now that they are actually wins, how do you kind of come off of that week and still be focused for Tulane?
That's a great question. You know, it's a different test now. You know, you're tested every game, you're tested every week. Now we have a completely different one to come off an incredibly emotional and hard-fought game, to go on the road in you know, a whole different setting, all of that, and it's a real challenge and it's what we talked about a lot today before practices. Can we recreate that kind of energy and that kind of focus in every single remaining game, including the one on Wednesday? And that's going to remain to be seen. That's what great teams do. They're able to do that. They're able to turn the page and not still be playing behind them. And I hope that we can do that. I hope that we've learned a couple things the hard way that we need to learn. That you have to be incredibly ready to play every single night. I don't care. Look in our league, Cincinnati had to, you know, they go to East Carolina, fight for their lives, overtime. Just go around the league every week and you see those kinds of things. If you take any game for granted, you're in trouble.
Houston, you guys came in with the hunger for Houston. Tulane's probably going to come in with the hunger for SMU.
Absolutely. And I think they're really talented. I really do. They're old and they're talented. I mean, you look at, you know, some of their transfers. These guys have scored a lot of points in their college career. You know, a lot. And we were behind at halftime here. Something that we reminded them. We showed them on film. We were behind at the half in our game here. They play a defense that's not always the easiest to play against, and you know, in their building, it's a completely different atmosphere than we just played in. So there's a lot of factors, but you're right. They're going to be incredibly ready to play. They beat Cincinnati at their place. You know, that's kind of all you need to know. Cincinnati's another great team, so it's going to be a test of, you know, can we put last week totally behind us and be more intense in what we do from here on out.
The first time you played them, Nick Thomas scored 20 at 6 threes, and you said that KJ Lawson didn't have maybe his best game. Are those your top two concerns when you get ready for Tulane?
Didn't Lawson have a really good game? Did I say that? Because I thought he would score. I thought Lawson had.
I thought he was good, but you said you've seen him play even better, or something like that.
That might have been true. That may have been true, but he was. I remember him heating it up pretty good. Thomas, it's a good thing that we had such a good scouting report. We didn't want him to shoot a bunch of threes. Can you imagine how many he would have made had we not made such a big deal about it? He only made, what, 6?
Yeah.
6? Yeah, he probably made 10 had we not done such a good job. We'll have to do a better job for sure. But it's not just those two guys. I mean, it really is not. I've seen them get hot. They're a heck of a perimeter team. They can drive the ball. They're hard to stop, and you know, they're dangerous. I don't care what their record is. They're a dangerous team. I know they are. And I know they're coming off a really, really tough day, which I always hate when I see that. I don't like ever to play people coming off one of the roughest games of the year.
And you talked about just them having graduate transfers, and so many people don't understand just how important it is to have an old team, as you said.
Yeah.
Can you just kind of go more into detail
Why that is?
Why?
Yes. I think there's couple things. One is the more minutes you have played in college, the more mistakes you've made, and you've played through your mistakes, and you start to understand how not to make so many mistakes. You recognize things so much quicker. You recognize so many more things that are going on. The game definitely slows down for you the older you get, and just, you know, natural maturity, strength, emotional strength. You know, playing against a grown man. Here's another way to say it: would you rather play against a grown man or a little kid? And obviously, you're not playing little kids, but when you're talking about 24-year-old men versus a 18, 19-year-old, that's a pretty big swing in a young man's progress. And so all those things put together is a big reason why the old teams win a lot of games in college basketball.
You spoke after the first matchup with Tulane, and again just a few moments ago, about their unusual defense. And with that defense, and this being Coach Hunter's first year, does the fact that you've now seen it once and played against it once let you accelerate the adjustment you make to it on Wednesday?
I wish. I'll tell you Wednesday at about 9. I'll tell you right after the game. It's not like, I don't want to say it's not a defense that you never see, but matchup zones are not that common. Most of the time you play against man-to-man. A lot of people play a 2-3 zone these days. Every now and then you might see something else, 1-3-1, 3-2, but a matchup zone has no shape, and it has rules, and sometimes they can have different rules. And so it's part of it is just, there's not like a set offense that you can just say, okay, this is going to work against a matchup zone. It really, in so many ways, comes down to getting your players to feel like they're on the attack and feel like they're in some kind of flow without bogging them down with a whole bunch of new things they're supposed to remember. I think that's the key, and it's far easier to talk about than it is to actually get done.
You always talk about how your evaluation goes far beyond just the number of points a player scores. Against Houston the other day, Kendrick had 10, but I think he was 3 for 12 from the floor. Was he pressing a little bit since it was his hometown team?
Probably.
And do you worry about Ferran maybe doing that since he's going back home?
Honestly, I hadn't even thought about Ferran in that situation because I still think of him from here, but hopefully no. But I'm glad you pointed that out. We'll have to talk about that. But I think probably Kendrick certainly was going to try a little extra hard against his hometown team. At the same time, sometimes your shots go in more than others. I think he would agree with this. He took 2 or 3, a few shots that maybe were pretty tough shots. But I'm not too worried about that. I know that he's a great competitor. I think Ferran is in a really good spot right now. I hope he doesn't get out of it at all. I think he's turning a corner, and he's starting to kind of figure out some things that I really want him to concentrate on. And that's the gritty part of the game, and how hard you have to play, how focused you have to be. And he's been very good for a while here now, and I'm proud of him, and I hope he continues on this path. I don't ever want him to get complacent. When he gets complacent, he's not close to the player he can be, and when he's not complacent, you see what he can do. And I love it when I can feel that he's not complacent.
As far as winning the regular season, you talked about that's kind of what you're trying to sell to the guys. But as far as the coaching staff, looking at the top 4 seed, getting into the conference tournament, how much are you looking at on Sunday, other results from other teams, or is that not a focus about it?
I really am not thinking at all about the top 4 at all. I'm really not. I don't want anybody on our staff or our team to be trying to measure that. We're still mathematically in the race, and maybe when it all clears, we're not close to in the race. But today we're right in the race. We're 1 game out, and that's the only thing that I think anybody in our entire organization, managers on down, I don't want anybody trying to figure out how we can get 4th place.
Ferran acknowledged that he and some of his teammates have talked about NCAA tournament possibilities, and he said he hasn't played in one. And do you worry about them getting too far ahead, thinking about in terms like that?
Well, I want them to know that we have a lot of work to do if we're going to go there. So I think I don't want them to fool themselves to think that you just it's all okay. You got to win a lot of games to get in the NCAA tournament. Not just us, everybody. The margin of error is about that wide, and there's not very many bids. So no, I don't think that's getting ahead of themselves. I want them feeling like every game is an NCAA game. It is. It is to 98% of the teams out there right now. You can't afford to drop many games. You just can't. So I want them in that mindset. I would hate to do it the other way. And they feel like, gosh, we didn't realize what we really had to do. Like, I want you to know what we have to do. We have to play like we did Saturday every single game. That's what we have to do. We have to play with that kind of intensity and that passion and that single-mindedness. There was only one agenda in our entire huddle, locker room, on the floor, and that was to win the game. There was nothing else going on, and that's the team that I love to coach right there, and I hope that it continues to be the team that we are. It's not an easy thing because we're all human, and then we start, kind of, well, what's in it for me? Kind of, that's what's going on in trust me, on every team across the country is the balance. Is it all about we, or do I want to start worrying about what's in it for me? And only the teams that really win get anything out of it, and that's what we've always tried to sell, that you're all going to, everyone's going to benefit when you win, and nobody benefits when you lose. So I love the team on Saturday, and I hope that's the same team that we take to New Orleans Wednesday.
You've talked all year about the need to hold leads in the second half, and sometimes you have, sometimes you haven't. The fact that you had a double-digit lead and withstood Houston's runs in the second half the other day, did that mean anything more than just one particular game?
Yeah,
Does that
because they're a
represent
great
growth?
team. Yes, for sure. They're a great team. They don't go. Houston's not going down without a fight or two. They're not. They're not going to do that. And I really respect them for that. So yeah, for us to hold it off and then even get behind in overtime and continue battling and then finding a way to win the game. I just felt like our guys. I told them this, and I feel strongly. I think the game was for the most part decided before the game started. I think most games are. They're decided before the game. If you could really cut into everybody and see how deeply, first of all, how ready to play they are, how much they've stored to get ready for a certain game, and then I think that they've just made the decision. I don't care what, we're not going down tonight. You see that in teams. And I thought our team made that decision. Like, we're not going down. You could see it in our play. No matter what was going on the floor, we're not going down. I think Houston has that quality. I watch them a lot. And we need to have that. We need to have that exact quality the rest of the season.